Don't answer the cries beneath the floorboards. I moved into the apartment above the antique shop because it was cheap, not because I liked it. Rent was $500 a month, no questions, no paperwork. The landlord, a pale man who never blinked enough, handed me a brass key and a wrinkled piece of paper, then muttered something I didn't quite catch. I only understood one word: trapdoor. The place was old, wood creaked under your feet like it had a voice of its own, and everything smelled faintly of dust and candle wax. Still, it was mine. I unpacked quickly and settled into a week of silence. That's when I found the paper again. Not a lease, not a welcome letter, but a warning handwritten in stiff, anxious pen strokes. A list of rules that sounded like the punchline to some twisted joke: don't speak after midnight. Don't open the trapdoor. Don't listen to the crying. I laughed, folded it up, and shoved it in a drawer. The first few nights were quiet. I stayed up late watching shows, cooking at odd hours, and talking to myself while I worked. But on the fifth night, I woke to something strange. There was a soft sound beneath me, not footsteps, not rats, but crying. Muffled and distant, like a child was sobbing through layers of dirt. I sat up, disoriented, confused, and somehow immediately aware of what it was. It wasn't plumbing or neighbors or an echo. It was real. Alive. Sad. It whispered hello? So faintly that I thought I imagined it. My first instinct was to call out, but something in me, maybe fear, maybe instinct, told me not to. Instead, I sat there, sweating in my sheets, listening to the quiet sobs taper off into sniffles and silence. That was the first night I truly didn't sleep. The next night, it got worse. The crying started earlier, around 11:30 p.m., and this time it wasn't a child. It was a woman. Her voice cracked and trembled as she whispered phrases like "I can't see and they left me here." She said my name. She said it softly, like someone familiar, like a friend. That was when I pulled out the paper again. The rules weren't a joke. Someone had lived here before. Someone had survived long enough to write this list, and probably didn't survive long after. I began to follow them. I stopped talking aloud. I bought a dozen light bulbs and left every light on. I taped the trapdoor in the kitchen shut with duct tape and stacked 3 chairs on top of it. Still, the crying came. Sometimes it changed voices. Sometimes it stopped for hours, then returned louder, angry, frantic. Once, it laughed. That was the worst. On the 9th night, I woke up and everything was quiet. Not silent, wrong. The kind of quiet that presses on your eardrums, like something is behind you holding its breath. I sat up and immediately saw it. The trapdoor in the kitchen was wide open. The duct tape had been peeled off in perfect, unbroken strips and laid flat beside the hatch like someone had done it slowly, carefully. The chairs were stacked neatly beside the table. My heart dropped into my stomach. I didn't go near it. I just turned every light in the house back on and sat in the brightest corner of the living room, clutching my knees and whispering prayers I hadn't said in years. For hours, nothing happened. But then the bell rang. It was a soft chime, the little bell above the antique shop store downstairs. It rang once. Then again. Then again. Slow. Purposeful. The shop was closed. The street outside was empty. I wanted to scream, but I remembered the rules. I covered my ears and squeezed my eyes shut. The stairs creaked. I felt every footstep vibrate through the floorboards like bone snapping in my chest. Something walked across the living room. Something wet. Slow. Heavy. It stopped inches from where I sat and stayed there. Breathing. It didn't move again until dawn. Now I don't sleep at night. I nap in the afternoon and walk circles around the apartment until the sun comes up. The crying hasn't stopped. It now starts before midnight. I hear things in the mirror. The lights flicker even when the bulbs are new. The trapdoor opens on its own. Sometimes I find footprints, barefoot, muddy, child-sized, circling my bed. I haven't left the apartment in a week. I don't think I'm allowed to. If you ever pass through East Fairhaven and see a rental ad for a cozy studio above an old antique store, tear it down. Burn it. Warn someone. Because this place isn't haunted. It's hungry. And it knows your name the second you walk in. I think it wants me to forget what the world outside looks like. This morning, if you can call the sickly gray light that slips through the curtains morning, I tried to open the front door. I wanted to leave, to run, even if it meant jumping from the second-story balcony. But when I touched the doorknob, I felt breath. Not wind. Breath. Warm and damp and pulsing. I jerked my hand back, and the knob twisted on its own, slowly, as if someone on the other side had been trying to open it in sync with me. But there was no knock. No sound. Just that knowing silence, like the apartment had paused its heartbeat for a moment to see what I'd do. I backed away, and as I turned toward the hallway mirror, I caught a glimpse of something standing directly behind me, a child-sized silhouette with elongated fingers and a gaping mouth that stretched all the way to its chest. When I turned around fully, there was nothing. Just the flickering lights above and the smell of melted wax and mildew. The thing is, it's not just in the floor anymore. Last night, I woke up to a sound like paper tearing slowly. The crying had stopped hours earlier, but this was different. Close. Wet. I opened my eyes and saw that the ceiling above my bed was peeling open, like old skin. From the seam, two pale, waxy hands began to reach down. I couldn't scream. My voice was frozen somewhere in my chest. I slid out of bed and crawled backward on all fours until my back hit the closet door. The arms just hung there, limp but swaying, as if waiting to feel where I was. Then they retreated, slowly, reluctantly, back into the ceiling, which sealed shut without a trace. No crack. No line. Just paint and plaster. That's when I understood, the apartment was alive, and I wasn't the only one inside it. I tried to fight back once. I bought sage, candles, a book of protective sigils from a shop 2 towns over. I painted a sigil in salt across the trapdoor and stayed up all night reciting words in a language I barely understood. Around 2 a.m., the walls began to bleed. Thin streams of black liquid trickled from the corners, seeping into the salt and sizzling like acid. My candles popped one by one, and the room dropped 10 degrees in seconds. I looked into the hallway and saw the crying child again, but this time, it was crawling on the ceiling. Upside down. Moving like a broken puppet, limbs jerking in wrong directions. It turned its head to look at me, mouth hanging open, but no sound came out. It was grinning. That grin hasn't left my head. Now, the crying is constant. It doesn't rise and fall anymore, it drones like a siren. Sometimes, it comes from the drain. Other times, from the light bulbs. Once, I swear it came from inside my own mouth while I was sleeping. I woke up choking on something soft and cold, and when I spat it out, it was a damp strip of parchment, handwritten in the same pen strokes as the rules. You're almost ready. Ready for what? Today, I found the landlord's photo on the back of a book of matches in the kitchen drawer. I never noticed it before. But what scared me was what was behind him in the image, me, standing in the window of this apartment. Not a blur. Not a shape. Me, as I am now. Same clothes. Same wild eyes. I flipped the matchbook over. There was another rule I'd never seen, scrawled in tiny letters in the fold between the matches. Don't stay long enough to forget your own voice. I don't remember what I sound like anymore. I don't think I'll ever leave. The door doesn't lead outside now. It just opens into another hallway, identical to mine but wrong. The floor creaks before I step. The lights flicker only when I blink. And every reflection I see watches me just a second too long. I've stopped checking the trapdoor. It opens on its own now, sometimes during the day, wide enough for the smell to reach me, a smell like damp stone, burnt hair, and old breath. Something's waiting for me down there. Not with anger. With patience. Tonight, I swear I heard it say my name in my own voice. I think I've already gone down once and came back different. Or maybe I never came back at all. That thought has started to fester like rot behind the walls. It chews through logic, memory, even time. I say that today is Wednesday, but the clocks have stopped keeping track. My phone died days ago and won't take a charge. The calendar on the fridge says October 17th. It's said October 17th for what feels like weeks. And worse, I've begun to hear myself moving when I'm sitting still. Footsteps in the other room. The quiet click of a light switch flipping just after I've turned it off. Sometimes I even catch a glimpse of my own silhouette in the corner of my eye, pacing the kitchen like it's stuck in a loop I can't break. I no longer sleep, not because I'm too afraid, but because I'm too uncertain which version of me might wake up in my place. The crying under the floor has changed. It isn't pleading anymore. It's laughing. A soft, hollow giggle that sounds like a child pretending to be human. It builds in pitch and pressure until it presses behind my eyes like a migraine. Once, I screamed at it to shut up, just once, and the crying immediately stopped. I felt relief for a half second before realizing I'd broken the only rule I hadn't broken yet. That night, the trapdoor didn't just open, it exploded off its hinges, flung against the ceiling with a force that shook the whole apartment. Something stepped out. I didn't see it. I couldn't. But I heard it breathing, and worse, I heard it thinking. Thoughts that weren't mine but slid behind my eyes like oil. It circled me for hours without ever touching me. When the sun rose, the door was shut again. And I haven't seen daylight since. The windows show the world outside still, cars passing, leaves rustling, people walking by. But it's all on a loop. Same red sedan. Same woman in a green coat. Same dog stopping to sniff the same lamppost. Over. And over. And over. One time, I wrote "help me" in soap across the glass. I watched it vanish and then reappear, frame by frame, reversed, like someone was watching me through the other side. I haven't touched the windows since. There's a new sound now. Something dragging. Slow and steady, across the ceiling above me. At first I thought it was footsteps, but it isn't. It's heavier. Like furniture. Or a body. It scrapes along for hours, then stops directly above my bed. And then silence. Not peace. Never peace. Just that kind of silence that waits with teeth bared. I know it's there. I know it wants me to move. To call out. To look up. I never do. But last night, it changed again. As I sat under the only remaining light in the hallway, I saw myself step out of the bathroom. Not a reflection. Not a dream. Just me. Same hoodie. Same tremble in the hands. Same exhausted eyes. He looked at me and smiled, not in cruelty, but with relief. As if his job was done. He turned, walked to the trapdoor, and opened it. And what climbed out was me, too. Now there are 3. They move through the apartment freely. I watch them eat, sleep, even cry when they're alone. I'm not sure if they see me anymore, or if I've become another fixture of this place. Maybe I am the place now. A memory in the paint. A sigh in the hallway. Maybe that's what it does, not haunt you, but absorb you. It keeps all the pieces that come through the door and scatters them across time like ashes. Some of us scream. Some of us whisper. Some of us sit completely still, hoping we won't be the next thing that opens the trapdoor from the inside. So if you're reading this, and you ever hear a voice crying from beneath the floorboards, even if it sounds like someone you love, do not answer. Don't whisper. Don't move. Because once it knows you're listening, it already has your name. And once it knows your name, it will never forget it. Not even after you're gone.